Welcome everybody to another episode of my podcast, and as you always know, I'm always delighted to have my guest on, and today's no different. So today I have the brilliant Rollo Stewart, and I met Rollo through a mutual friend of mine, and Rollo is challenging, dare I say, how, I'm going to get this wrong, so forgive me, how organisations, primarily in the professional service space, management consulting space, can go about accessing the best talent within the independent consulting market. I probably really hashed that up, so forgive me, Rollo. I'll let you describe probably far more eloquently than I have done there. So as you see, the title of today's blog is called Independence Day for Consulting, and this for me is a really, really interesting one. Having been an independent consultant, the challenge around access to work, I guess. Yes, you have to go and find it, but what Rollo's doing, I believe, is going to change this. It's going to turn it on its head, and the proof's in the pudding in terms of where they're at in their journey. So I will shut up. Rollo, I always kick off with who, what, why, when, where. Love to know a bit of your journey, a bit of your background that's taken us to this point, I guess.
Super. Well, Alex, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on board today. My career, my background, following where you want to go. My background's quite varied. What seems like a million years ago now, I was a soldier for a few years, and actually it was in the army that sort of my first forays, believe it or not, into entrepreneurship began. I didn't actually realize it until I was being interviewed the other day. And sorry, there's a bit of work going on.
Yes, those watching on YouTube or listening, there's a guy in high-vis vest that's just walked past Rollo, kind of took me off guard. So,
yeah, I didn't realise it until I was being interviewed the other day. But one of my postings was up at the infantry training centre up in Catterick, where you take guys off the street, and literally 6 months later we were sending them out into the big bad world. And I disagreed with how we were training our soldiers at the time. I remember the training package was very much geared on old-fashioned thinking. So for argument's sake, we were doing some half a day's demonstration of fighting in built-up areas. But at the time, the British Army was, the only place anything was happening really in Ireland was Belfast. In Iraq, we were in Basra, and in Afghanistan, we were fighting through compounds. And so all very much built up. And we were only doing a demonstration, whereas we were still asking the guys to do a week's long exercise of digging trenches. And it just didn't seem to work well with me. And so I remember going to my chain of command, and I was just slightly brushed off, sort of, well, nothing's going to change. This is the army. If you want to do something, go and waste your own time. And so I did go and do something, and I wrote this huge paper. And before I knew it, it was up at sort of 3-star level, and it changed. As a 22-year-old, it changed the way the British Army actually trained its soldiers at the time. I think it's really how I've approached everything. It's identifying a problem and going straight after it. Thinking about the solutions, thinking about what's best for everyone, and then going after it. So that was my army time, and then I left and I went into the city, which wasn't really me, but it allowed me to become a bit more commercial and understand the city and understand how businesses work and balance sheets, etc. But then I was headhunted by the wonderful Odgers Berntsen to become not a headhunter than myself, but to become their chief of staff for a turnaround job for their EMA business. And that was fascinating. So I got to see how headhunting, recruiting firms worked, but also enabled me to sit right at the table of changing businesses. And that was fascinating. It was cut slightly short, sadly, by a bereavement in my wife's family, and we came home with a brand new baby back to London, and I was literally left holding the baby for a couple of months, which was an interesting concept. But I remember one morning I'd done everything that the baby needed. I put him down for a few hours, and there was nothing to do. And I remember sort of flopping on the sofa and turning on the telly, and It was just rubbish mid-morning after TV, boring as hell. But I remember, this was back in 2010, I remember an advert came on for, it was one of the northern banks, and they were talking very specifically about their UK call centers and how proud they were of their UK call centers. And I started thinking, well, hang on a sec, I'm doing nothing. I could be working. I could be earning money now. I've got a few hours. I started to look into the virtual call center concepts. And we took that actually quite far down the line. And it was very primarily focused on using my experiences in the army, but looking at modern working practices and attempting to get women, primarily army wives, back into the workplace. It's very difficult for them to get jobs because they move every 18 to 24 months. And this way that, it's just picking up a laptop and taking it around the country with you. But unfortunately, the money matters, and I needed to get a job, and I found myself in strategic consulting, primarily on communications, for a decade, which was fascinating, and actually I loved it. Just wonderful working with really interesting companies and people, and doing some proper problem solving. The issue I had with it, between the players within the market, you couldn't really fit a fiver between us. And I think that lack of choice for the buy side just irritated me slightly. And certainly within the industry, the choice for us as employees moving from one company to another, you're literally going into the same thing. And this was the beginning of my thought process of choice. But it was a dinner with a mate of mine who is actually the exec chairman of a very large consulting firm, and is actually now one of my senior advisors. He's been a great supporter of us. We were having dinner and talking about our respective businesses, and one of his big issues was within the consulting market, which is a problem for every single consultant. Was and obviously, management consultants are expensive beasts, and when they're working on a project, that's great. But when they're not, they're pure cost. And you never know really how the ebbs and flows are going to happen within a business. And that got the cogs going, and choice was born. It's probably worthwhile explaining choice. The CHOIX, the actual name, it's French, obviously, for choice, and for a while it was choix, but I did.
I'm glad it's become choice.
Yeah, I didn't like the way it was sounding. I was beginning to sound a little bit more like Jeremy Clarkson, saying Jack, and it was just, no, I didn't like it. And so for a while, it became because my friend has offices on the East Coast of America, and he suggested we New Jersey accent, so it became Choix for a bit. And then we brought on the wonderful Ash Coleman-Smith, who is one of the leading sales and marketing for professional services guys in the country, and he sort of shook his head at us slightly and went, no, it's choice with a small x. That's what it means. That's what it does. And so we accepted that. And so that's why we are choice. What is choice? Choice is the next generation in providing real-time professional services talent. We've now, that's been established, and we are choice empowers buyers and sellers by sidestepping traditional red tape and providing genuine choice to both the buy and the sell side, in a market that's worth $250 billion per annum. So, having now completed our seed round, built our platform,
Mhm.
developed our own software, which we can talk about in a bit, successfully brought in clients, which is wonderful, and established the beginnings of our community. We're now moving from into our acceleration and market penetration phase. So that's where we are. So that's a little bit about me. That's where we are as a business, and slightly what we are. But I think it's probably worth speaking about how we've built the platform, because that really gets to the nub of it.
Absolutely. So I guess your timing is perfect, I guess, in terms of the great resignation and the great reshuffle, and what COVID has done, or the pandemic has done, in terms of you can fundamentally, in theory, work anywhere but work remotely, which does two things. Employers are realizing they've got now access to more talent around the world, potentially on time zones rather than places, but also I'm getting this, even though that I've come out of being independent and got into full time and gone the other way. I'm certainly seeing in my network more people doing I've realized I've been doing the 9 to 5. It sucks. I now want to do my own thing. What you're creating is that, I guess, that central point, which will enable the buy side, i.e. the client, to have access to top quality independent management consultants, as you said, but through less tape. But that then helps the independents have access access to opportunity more easily. Is that fair way? Okay, cool. Just making sure that I've actually understood it and played that back.
No, that's
I'm a simple person, Rollo, so
that is absolutely it. But you're bang on the money there. You look at all the data that's coming out in the market. You go back, there was a big survey by the Office of National Statistics back in 2016, which showed that there were, frighteningly enough, 175,000 management consultants in the UK. And 31% of them, or 55,000, were independent. So that's a huge market. Now, obviously, things have moved on since there, and particularly, as you're quite right, with COVID. For argument's sake, last year, in 2020, 17 all of those are independents, but the vast majority of them are independents. You look at the numbers, 6,500 of those were under the age of 30.
Crikey.
And these are, the high employment rates in the UK have kept the UK economy growing. But wages have remained lower than they were in 2008. There's been a survey on Consulting UK on this one. So the mix of earning materially less than the generation before them, whilst still being expected to take on massive workloads, it's not surprising that people want to become their own boss, and choice is there to help them. Everything that we've built is being designed not to capitalize or focus on either the buy or the sell side. It's being built to help the entire industry. This is why some of our earliest clients are big consultancy firms. Because we are a friend to all. But yes, so we offer, we're not a recruitment site. We are not a business that, where a client comes to us and says, I need this. And we just provide them with 3 to 5 CVs and hope that one of them is going to stick. The best people who know what they want and what they need are the client themselves. So, through us, effectively what they're able to do is to shop almost like they're on Amazon for their consultants. They put in what they need, whether it's sector or functional expertise, geography, day rate, whatever it is. There's a whole host of things that they can search for, and it just filters the system down and produces a group of names. And everyone that comes onto our platform is verified. They have references collated. We do work checks on them, and so the buyers know exactly what they're getting. And it's just a very easy, very simple one-stop shop and putting power back in the hands of the buy side as to who they want to work for them, whether that's a consulting firm or a plain corporate firm. But at the same time, we're also providing choice to the sell side, because unlike a recruitment agency or a headhunting firm, we all know how they work. If you keep on saying no to opportunities for them, you stop getting called. It's as simple as that. That doesn't work on our platform. The algorithms don't work like that. If you're available, you're available. If you're not, you're not. If you want to work for company A, work for them. And if you don't agree with them, or you don't like what they do, how they do it, we've heard about it, then don't work for them. The choice is in their hands completely. We are a pure aggregator of independent talent.
And I think because I used to be a recruitment consultant way back when, but I was perm rather than temp. And we always used to say that the team's working in temp, shooting fish in a barrel. It's really easy to recruit. You're just putting bodies in there, and you're just taking margin, happy days. You're not actually doing anything. But of course, the candidate database was always finite, right? Whereas because you are, as you described it eloquently, kind of an aggregator of this, I'm guessing that potentially gives you access to a much broader market that the recruitment company may not necessarily have access to, because they're either trying to farm out their same candidates all the time, or to your point, I've got a bunch of people who are just saying no at that particular point because they haven't got the right type of role. They then leave them by the wayside, whereas the next opportunity could be actually perfect. Whereas through choice, that circumnavigates kind of all of that, and bias, I guess.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what we're trying to do. And that bias is a big part. We've got some, I can't talk about it now, but there'll be some very interesting stuff on bias coming out on the platform very soon, hopefully, certainly within the next year.
Cool.
Which is a very cool tool that we're actually building in conjunction with some of our clients as well, we've spoken to them about bias. Bias is a big issue for the market at the moment, and so we are building a tool that will get around that.
Well, you're building a team as well. We can talk about that towards the towards the end. So when we were kind of chatting in the green room, as I like to call it, it's all very professional here at Low Production Media Limited. I better get that own that domain. Shut up, Alex. We were talking about, or rather, you were mentioning that you kind of built, based on the experience that you have shared with us in terms of the journey that's brought you to where you are. Now, I think you mentioned there were four pillars that you kind of underpin all of this around, some of which you can give us a high level view, because you don't necessarily give away the secret sauce and the IP, but share with us what you're comfortable and you're able to around those kind of four pillars. And I think more importantly, why you believe they are relevant to the problem that you are trying to solve on both sides of the coin. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's look at the problem. The world is changing at a rate we can barely keep up with at the moment, in so many facets of life, but in particular, the working environment, how we work, how we service clients, and choice is very much on the crest of the wave of this change. It's why I believe that the business has been so well received so far. But in terms of the pillars, what underpinned the entire build process, and I should probably mention our build partners, which is a wonderful agency called Everything Connected, who's been superb. But everything, the entire principle of the build has been around helpfulness. So that's what underpins everything: helpfulness to the buyer and the sell side. But the four pillars, you're right on the four pillars. The four pillars of the build. The first one is community, and this is obviously where consultants and buyers can upload their bios and their, who they are, what they do, how they do it. There is, this is very much a watch this space part of the platform.
Okay.
I can't go into too much detail, but this community element is something that we want to really focus on. If you look at any bit of research into independent consultancy, the biggest issue for independence is where's the next bit of work coming from. And we are an extra string to their bow. On that, they can go to their alumni networks, they can join other platforms. That's no issue. We are simply another string to their bow. But this community part of the business is what we are really focusing on over the next sort of year to 18 months, and building something that is genuinely helpful to our community as a community. So what's this space on that one?
Cool.
That's the first pillar. The second pillar is our own bit of bespoke software. Okay. That we've managed to design and build into the platform, and this is around project management. It's not an onerous piece of software. It's not complicated. It is simply a way for the clients hiring independents to manage their projects in real time, so they can see the health of the project at real time. Within each role that they produce objectives, and the consultant will need to respond on those objectives. Why have we built this? Well, it's again helpfulness on the buy and the sell side, but the buy side, it's helpful for them because if there are any issues within a particular project, it's raised early and they're able to deal with it. And that can't be a bad thing. That's been really well received actually by our early clients. Okay. And for the sell side, for the consultants, and we've all been there, we're all probably guilty of it. The goalposts do sometimes change, and this this enables them to stay on track. These are what the objectives are set. Now, you can change the objectives as they go along, but it has to be a two-way process. Yeah. So that's a really helpful bit of software that we've built. And then we get the two other tools. The first one is a resourcing tool, which is, as I think I mentioned earlier, is very much focused on, almost shopping like Amazon. I need this type of consultant at this day rate, this sector expertise, this functional expertise, this amount of experience, and so on and so on. And they're able to create shortlists and look directly at people, at their references. And we are actually we've built quite a sophisticated scoring system into the platform. So as time goes on, you'll be able to see where people's strengths really lie, because dependent on the project, will depend on what sort of skills you need. So that would be a very useful tool. So that's very quick. And again, it puts the power back in the hands of the buy side. They're making the choice of who they pick, not a recruitment consultant providing you with a finite number of people and going, just pick one of those, and hopefully they work. And then the final part at the moment, so this is again something that will change over time. It will morph, but it's a teaming tool, and it's really a tool for the sell side, for the consultants themselves, where we will enable them to go onto the buying subscription of one of their existing clients. Every consultant will have a client base, and this enables them as a trusted partner to provide choice to their client, instead of going to a traditional supplier, which, as we all know, people are getting more and more frustrated with the cost of traditional consulting. And this enables, this empowers the buy side and the sell side through choice to provide teams of independents, but obviously at a fraction of the cost of going through traditional suppliers. So that's how the business is built on those four pillars.
And it all makes, said having lived the dream of being an independent of almost 5 years, well, we're January 2022 when this is being recorded. It makes total sense. And if I reflect on when I started out January 2017, I remember sitting in this very office that I'm in now, kind of going, what do I do? I know what I need to do, but where do I
What do I
start?
do?
And I guess, back to that community piece, and you shared more than me in the green room about where you're going, and it's really, really exciting. That's going to be a massive kind of help and step up for those that have stepped out of either through their own choice or maybe not through their own choice, in terms of the comfort blanket of the corporate world, to then go, well, now what? And to your point, the way the world has evolved so rapidly over the last 18 24 months is absolutely crazy. And I think we'll come on to kind of the future of work and where choice kind of fits into all of this, and we can maybe have a little debate or discussion around that. But I see it as a massive help for those that, if you're listening, you're thinking about that. This is exactly what Rollo and Choice are trying to do, is give that platform where you've got help, you can lean on. We can't do this without mentioning the brilliant Steve Wills, former EY, in terms of, he's now out in the big wide world, but brings a huge amount of experience with him to maybe help. You touched on, I had no idea the demographic of that younger generation of independent management consultant, because, dare I say it, the assumption is you're of a certain age, maybe of a certain skin color, of a certain background, that's either been put out to pasture or decided they didn't want to work in the machine anymore. But it seems that has changed massively. And I guess reflecting on that, as and anybody knows that there's no structure to these podcasts, the diversity angle is what Choice will also potentially offer, in terms of diversity of access to independent consultants who maybe on paper, we've all, I'll happily 5 years in my previous life in the world of recruitment 20 years ago, maybe on paper you wouldn't give somebody a chance because they hadn't written it well or what have you. There will be people out there who haven't trodden the traditional path, but could be bloody good at what they do and bring in an immense diversity of insights, which you will give them visibility to a potentially untapped audience for them, right?
100%. One of the exciting things about Choice, and particularly with our ability to allowing consultants to build teams together, is you're not getting one view of the world. If you're a corporate that's used one of the big consultancy firms before, full well that the offering from company A to company B will be minimal. It's almost exactly the same. But when you start to get mixes of big four, small consulting firms, strategic guys, people who've never gone down the traditional route, all coming together, what that allows is actually for radical thinking. So we are, again, it's not just choice of who you're employing, it's choice of solutions as well. It's choice of how you approach problems. It's a choice of how you resolve issues. And that's 100% what we're trying to do. And it's what the world needs. It's actually what the world wants as well.
Absolutely. And also reflects on your earlier comment around how you're trying to help military wives kind of get back into the workplace with your virtual call platform. It's, again, I know something that you're very passionate about, in terms of women returning to the workplace, maybe because they have babies. In terms of, you've got kids, I've got kids. My wife's concerned that having a child potentially would damage her career, her career aspirations, because mechanically and biologically, us men would be used to that anyway. Can't do that. Therefore, why should that impede the fairest sex? So, do you want to build on kind of your passion and the importance, I think, that you're placing on kind of getting women back into the workplace as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, yes, I mean, as I said, the whole business, that initial seed came from trying to get military wives back into the workplace, and And it's such an important part of what we're doing. The amount of my female friends who have, been, they are bright, talented, driven people, fabulous at what they do. And then they have a family. And I would argue that 95% of all of my female friends who have had children and then gone back into the workplace, the idea that everything will be exactly the same that's just not true.
Yeah.
They are treated differently. Things are getting better. Things are definitely getting better. But I've seen some absolute horror stories of, friends of mine being replaced whilst they're on maternity leave, or returning and not being told that, there's now a co-managing director who happens to be a man and has been invited to all the meetings and knows everything that she doesn't know. And that's appalling. On the flip side of it, there are those are my female friends who've had children. Those children are now at school and they have hours in the day that they could be earning money. And again, they are keen to do that. But in today's market, whilst again, it's getting better, particularly with sort of flexible working, it's still not there.
Yeah.
Through our platform, we want to empower these women to be able to go back into the workplace on their terms. They set how long they want to work. They set what days they want to work. They set who they want to work with. And that's an incredibly important part. And they are a huge part of what we're trying to achieve. It is that fairness that platforms like Choice provide. And we passionately believe that women are a huge part of our future growth.
Fantastic. And literally, for those of you that are listening, I'm watching Rollo and the sun is just moving ever so slightly. So it looks like a halo effect is now appearing around his head, and perfect timing in terms of Mother Nature doing thing there.
I will. I'll shut this.
You shut that, and we'll keep talking. So whilst you're closing the blind, let's. We can't. You've already mentioned it around the way the workplace, the future of work is rapidly changing. I'm just going to let you know now that that's not working, but it doesn't matter. We'll carry on. Audio is he's moved. That's fine. So there we go. The future of work is it's just a big debate, topic of debate right now. Yeah. And again, I know that we touched on this in the green room, and I know I've given you not much chance to think about it, so this is very, very clear. But I think off the cuff kind of viewpoint is better than necessarily a pre-prepared answer, because no one really knows the answer. But this concept of the metaverse, let's take a step down a level, actually call it what it is. It's virtual reality, and what impact that may or may not have moving forwards. Speaking with, you mentioned the senior advisor, you got the chairman of one of the big consulting firms, his view, or any other advisors that you're chatting to, or even the consultants you're working with. Where do you believe this may or may not go in terms of how clients would interact or source or engage or whatever it might be? And I said, I appreciate I can't given you zero time to reflect on this, hence the length of the question, to give you time to formulate maybe some kind of rational answer or not. Maybe you want to go blue sky thinking.
It's a very interesting point. Talking about the metaverse today is a little bit like two people having a conversation about the internet in the 1970s. We have no idea where it's going to go to, but it's going to go somewhere. Over the last 2 years, you think of the leaps and bounds we have taken over the last 2 years with COVID. The idea, if you went back 3 years ago, the idea of people working remotely, at home happily, people would have thought you were mad, but it's happened. One thing that the metaverse has got to get around, and this is obviously with VR at the moment, it's still, yes, there are some cool things out there, and there's some very impressive things out there. But I think what will be the challenge of the metaverse is that human contact.
Yeah.
And that's a big step to get over. Yes, there are some very cool things out there at the moment that you can see people's facial expressions. You can look someone in the eye. But I think certainly a lot of people, particularly our generation, will find that tricky. But maybe not so tricky now that we are used to working at home.
Yeah.
And certainly there are a number of independent consultants that I've spoken to who have decided to leave full-time employment because they've actually realized how easy it is to work from home, and actually that they quite like their families and seeing their children. Strange concepts, obviously, but and that flexibility is something that's only ever going to grow. And with the metaverse, with new technologies, where I see the choice going over the next 5 years, some of the technical applications that we will be employing, whether that's through AI, whether that's through connectivity, whether that's through communities, that and in my head at the moment, that it really is blue sky thinking. It is nowhere near where we will probably be with technology in 5 years' time. I mean, and I think that's a reflection of the speed at which the metaverse will change how we work. And I personally, I think it's enormously exciting. And there'll be a balance to be struck. But the wonderful thing about us as humans is that we always seem to find that balance. We always seem to make it work somehow. And I think COVID is a great example of that. We've made it work. It's been, particularly at the beginning, it was very tough. There was a lot of scrabbling around, but look how quickly we adapted. Look how quickly we have changed our thinking. And that's the wonderful thing about humans, is that we have the ability to do that and the drive to do that. So I'm really excited personally about where this is going to take us. And I can guarantee you that Choice will be looking to be at the front of it. Perfect.
And I guess anybody listening, I'm going to potentially put you on the spot here, but if you are an expert consultant in VR, AR, all this kind of world, I guess in Choice would be welcome onto the platform, because your clients are going to probably want advice around this at some point as to what it means for them and potentially you. I don't know.
Yeah, no, completely. This is a time versus cost question. It's if you wait too long, these sorts of things will become enormously expensive. I think you should always try and be ahead of the game. You should always be trying to think of how can technology take my business, or how we interact with clients, how we interact with our communities. How can we take it that next step? How can we make it that bit easier for everyone? How can we make it that more helpful for everyone? So yeah, I mean, we would be delighted to talk to people about that, and I know that our clients would be delighted as well. I mean, even some of the consultancy firms that we've signed up, their usage of technology over the last 5 years, 2 years in particular, has just gone through the roof. It's so that these people, and I will certainly be advising my children, this is the sort of area you need to be looking at for careers, because
likewise.
there's just not enough of them at the moment. And I think where you can find someone with that technical know-how and mix it in with people with an opened mind approach to how we how we can change, that's a powerful combination.
It certainly is, and I think that's a brilliant way to end on. Now, I don't normally do this, but because I know I normally don't do this, but you are growing. You are a growing business, so I'm going to give you your opportunity to kind of pitch the sort of people that you are looking for currently to come on board with you, with the journey that is choice, so that anybody that is listening can potentially reach out to you if you liked what you heard, the story that Rollo is telling, and where he wants to go. Obviously, if you're an independent consultant, then get in touch. But in terms of you thinking of a career change yourself, I know we talked about this last night. What kind of skill sets currently are you looking for choice as a business to help you grow and take it to where you want to go?
Well, that is kind. I didn't realize you were going to say that, but I know we did talk about it last night. Well, first of all, on the community side of things for choice, yes, I would encourage as many consultants to sign up as possible. We are talking to some of the companies that we've got memorandums of understanding with, range from some of the largest retail companies in the country to some of the largest consultancy firms in the world, and all the way down to small independent architectural companies, businesses that we're talking to who will be looking over the next 6 months for some strategic type COO type people to come in for a couple of months. So do sign up. There is no cost to the consultants at all. We don't charge margins on day rates. It is completely transparent. So there is just come in, sign up, no obligations. And as we grow, we look forward to providing multiple opportunities for all of our community. On the choice side of things, yes, you're right. We are growing. We are funded. We've got some very, very supportive, very impressive shareholders who can really see where we're going with this. And we are really looking for two sides of the equation, on the buy and the sell side. Very much on the sales side of things, so on the corporate side, and also for the community. So very much on a recruitment focused to not only bring the community in, but how do we engage with the community? How do we keep driving that community focus? That's, as I opened up to you last night, you have an idea of where we're going.
Yeah.
But this is really for, the people that we're looking for are blue sky thinkers, are people who are going to come and go, yes, look, I know how this works. I can understand how this works. I can help you. But I think we can take it on further. I think we can do this. This is where I think the market's going wrong. And this is where I think the processes could be better. This is an opportunity for people to come in and really shape something. So, for me, that's the sort of person I want. It'll be fun.
Good. Excellent. Well, if you're listen to this and you think that's what Rollo is doing and the vision and the journey that he's got, and you've got an entrepreneurial sales mindset, then get in touch. And if you're on the recruitment community collaboration side of things and nurturing and generating candidate interest, all that kind of fun stuff, then please do get in touch with Rollo and mention this podcast to Rollo when you do, to prove that you've actually listened to it. Would be a good start. Rollo, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Really enjoyed your story, and I myself hadn't quite actually understood your backstory to this point. So it's been a learning for me. For my audience, I hope you've learned something new. This is the way the world is going. This is where it's going for independent consultants. So as Rollo said, please do sign up, get in touch. As always, if you want to be a guest on this podcast, you know what to do. Tune in, reach out to me. Have a conversation, or if you want to recommend anybody to be on this podcast or topics to be on this podcast. But Rollo, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, as well as your friend in the high-vis jacket behind you as well.
Alex, thank you very much indeed. We both say thank you very much. I don't know where he's gone, but he'll be back.
I'll see everyone on the flip side. Thanks.
Thank you.